Auburn recruiting updates, regrading the class of 2022 and 2024, and Auburn Softball gets their new head coach. All that and more right here on the College Loop Podcast.
You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
Of the College Loop Podcast, I'm Dylan Larck, @boytank on Twitter, and we are here to talk to you today about some Auburn recruiting. Auburn got a lot of crystal balls yesterday, as well as a hopeful commit announced his commitment date. So starting off with a little bit of an update, I think it is worth mentioning. Brian Battee's grandmother released an update per the GoFundMe that was started. So update, Brian is still in the ICU, but we are fortunate to share that on Saturday, Brian was able to give a thumbs up to his mom with his left hand and showed movement in his left leg. The right side of his body had not shown any sign of movement until 2 days ago. By the grace of God, Brian was able to move his right knee and leg. This news comes as a miracle, but Brian is a fighter and always has been. So that's great. And it also goes on to say they took the ventilator out. He has a tracheotomy. I hope I'm saying it right. So great news that we're hearing about Brian Battee. It's been a long process, and he's still got a long ways to go. So that's good to show that he still has movement. So still praying for Brian Battee and his family as they go through this tough time. But just to get into Auburn recruiting, Anquan Fegans announces his commitment date. It's going to be on July 29th. He's a 4-star safety from Thompson High School. Number 4 overall safety in the class, number 2 player in the state of Alabama. He'll be choosing between Auburn, Clemson, Georgia, and LSU. And of course, if his last name sounds familiar, his older brother, Antoine Fegans, who he actually transferred in Auburn this offseason, really, from Northwestern State. He also played Arkansas State a couple of years back. So hopefully that's a nice little sign that Auburn can pull off I don't know if you can hear the thunder going on behind me. It is storming outside on this beautiful Thursday morning. But yeah. So Anquan Fegans, hopeful Auburn commit. It'd be awesome for Auburn to get a defensive back in this class, or get another defensive back in this class. I want to say Auburn is a favorite just because it's close to home. He'll be playing with his brother, and it'll just be a nice commit for Auburn to grab. But Auburn also grabbed 3 crystal balls for the class of 2026. And every single one of these guys is a top-ranked player in the state of Alabama, starting off with the number 1 overall player from Alabama in the class of 2026, Anthony Jones, the 4-star, technically a 5-star edge rusher out of St. Paul's Episcopal in Mobile, Alabama. He currently favorited around, he's been crystal balled once for Auburn, but he also is showing interest in Alabama, Georgia, and LSU. And there's also some interest in Clemson. He's one of the top edge rushers in the class. By that, I mean he is the top edge rusher in the class. And I just love watching guys that are at the top of their position, the top of the state, who are looking at Auburn, because it's been such a hot minute. I believe Kerryon Johnson was really the last time Auburn picked up the number 1 player in the state of Alabama. And second guy that got crystal ball, the number 3 overall edge rusher in the state, number 3 overall edge rusher in the country, the number 3 overall player in the state of Alabama, Hezekiah Harris. And I hope I'm saying it right. He's from Jemison and Huntsville, Alabama. 6'5", 220 pounds. Also earned himself a crystal ball, showing interest from LSU and Clemson. And he's just a freak. All these guys are freaks. And it's, again, and I'll just get to the last one because I'm just going to say what I just said again. And Jermichael Garrett, 6'2", linebacker, number 8 overall player in the state of Alabama, number 9 linebacker in his class, got 2 crystal balls to Auburn. Also showing interest from LSU, Miami, and Michigan. But it just goes to show again. I'm just going to say what I just said again. It is so cool watching Auburn win recruiting battles and get these high-end guys interested in coming to Auburn. It's been so long, and again, since Kerryon Johnson was the last time Auburn picked up the top player in the state of Alabama, to really see it happen, because Auburn has been out recruited by everybody in Alabama before. It was Alabama, it was Tennessee, it was Georgia, it was Florida, it was Florida State, it was LSU. All these guys and all these schools were coming in to Alabama and taking some of the higher end players from Auburn. And you saw that with the last two the recruiting parties in the Malzahn era and in the Harsin era. So it's just so awesome watching Auburn finally pick it up. I don't think I've ever actually been conscious enough to witness Auburn this high end as a recruiter. I know Gus Malzahn has some good classes, but I guess time will tell, really, because Gus Malzahn had some high end classes, but I never really saw a lot of those guys develop into what they should have been based on their ratings. And of course, it's just how I feel about the Gus Malzahn's recruiting. I've never been too high on Gus Malzahn as a recruiter, and also as a developer. But with that, going to go ahead and move on to the next update before we get into the meat potatoes of today's episode. The Freeze 4 has made a YouTube channel for themselves. No, it's called the Freeze 4. Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, Cam Coleman, and Bryce Kane have joined together to create the Freeze 4 YouTube page. So I don't know what kind of content they'll be posting, but I've already subscribed because I just can't wait. Just try to. I love how united that group of 4 is coming in. That is so fun to watch. I don't think I've ever actually seen a positional recruiting group that has been as close as the Freeze 4 have, and that just goes to show how good of a recruiter the staff has been and all that. So, and with that, gonna go and get on to the big thing on today's episode. I'm just drumbling over all my words. We're going to be grading the class 2022 as it is now in 2024. We're going to be going through both the transfers and the high school. So starting with the high schoolers, starting with the highest overall guy, J.D. Rim, the former 4-star out of Valdosta, Georgia. I'm going to be doing hit, miss, or meh. So hit means they were great. Miss means they weren't good at all. Or Auburn, it transferred out or something along those lines. Or meh, haven't really seen a lot of them yet. So time will tell. J.D. Rim, I want to say a hit. I know he transferred out this offseason, but whenever he got in, he was really good. And he was a position guy that I really thought was going to be around for a while. I thought if Auburn hadn't had such a loaded backfield at any given time, I expected him to be a starter by now. But transferred out, I think he was very good in the time he got in, so I'm going to leave it as a hit. Going number 2, Robert Woodyard. I'm going to give Robert Woodyard a meh. He's been here for a few years, hasn't transferred out, but never really got to have not really seen him play in action yet. He's always been a reserve guy. Flipped him from Alabama, but he hasn't really done anything outstanding to really stand out from the other linebackers in his class. So right now he'll be a meh for me. Holden Geriner is an interesting one. I'm going to also have to go meh for him as well. He's been developing for 2 seasons now, going in his 3rd. So again, time will tell how good Holden Geriner is for Auburn, but haven't really seen a lot of him. And a lot of people, including myself, thought he was 1 foot out the door already. So maybe transfers out at the end of this season, maybe not. We will not know until the season happens. But right now, I'm going to give him a meh just because we haven't seen a lot of them. It's only been in reserve action when Auburn's either up by a lot, down by a lot, either or for Holden Geriner. Jeffrey Imba. This one is, I'm going to go ahead and say this one's a miss. He was here. He was a reserve, came back, had some flashes, but transferred out before he could ever get the starting job. This is a guy who I thought could have been a key part of the defensive line this year, really. And so Jeffrey Imba, I'm going to have to give him a miss. The flashes he showed were great, but never really got on the field like he should have, or should have been able to. Moving on to the 5th guy, we're going to be talking about Keontae Scott, and I'd be remiss to not even consider giving it anything else. So Keontae Scott is a hit in every sense of the word. Keontae Scott, one of the top defensive backs for Auburn last year and going into this year. New position for him in the outside corner position, but he played star last year, was very, very good. Came back from an injury and was still at the top level of the SEC. He's a hit ever since the word. Up next, Austin Osbury. I'm going to give him a miss. 2 seasons at Auburn, never really got on the field as a starter. Was a reserve corner and a safety. And of course, transferred out. Flipped from LSU. But of course, he is now back with LSU after transferring out. But I'll give him a miss for right now. Eston Harris Jr. I'll have to give him a miss. I believe he has already transferred out from Auburn, and he never really got to play. And I could be completely wrong about the fact that he transferred out. Yeah, I am wrong. But never really got to see hasn't seen the field yet. A lot of size to him, but haven't really seen him yet. Amari Kelly. He is going to be a miss. He had some flashes. He, of course, transferred out into Middle Tennessee State. I just don't think that he has performed to where he could have been. He had some flashes, but he never really stepped up over and overcome any of that. I just don't think he was that good of wide receiver at Auburn, and I know that's kind of a little rude to say, but that's just how I feel. He just never really stood out amongst the rest of the wide receivers. Never really got playing time. So I'll give him a miss for right now. Up next is Trey Donaldson. This one's a hard one to rank because I want to say a miss for football, because he never set foot on the football field. He was a guy who signed to play 2 sports, play football and basketball, but came to Auburn and just committed to only playing basketball. I think for football's sake, I'll give him a miss, but because he didn't play, he switched to basketball and was good for Auburn as the backup point guard. So if it was basketball, I would probably have said hit, but going into for football, I would say mess. Michael Riley Ducker, the former tight end, flipped from Iowa. Right now, I'm gonna give it a meh. I do think Michael Riley Ducker has a lot of talent. I think he showed a lot of flashes as well, and a lot of impressive flashes getting in. He was Robbie Ashford's favorite target last season. I'll give him a meh right now. I think he could evolve into a hit. I don't think he'll ever devolve into a miss. We just haven't seen a lot of them. So hopefully get to see more of them this year, because the tight end room is just so stacked. I think he should be moved up to tight end 3. But also got Rico Walker and Luke Deal and, of course, Valdo Fairweather. So a lot of tight ends in that room. But I think Michael Riley is a very, very good tight end. I just haven't seen a lot of them yet. Jay Fair, I'd probably have to give him a hit. He stood out last year and proved Mike G correct to the world. Of course, he transferred out, which I think could give him the meh role, but I think just from what he was last year, of course, as being a 3-star, he was exactly the kind of wide receiver that you want to break out. But of course, he's now with the USC Trojans. I'll have my hit, but strictly just because he was good for that one season and really helped out with the offense. But for starting off right now, I'll give him a hit. Powell Gordon, a linebacker, 3-star linebacker. I'll give him a meh. I think I'll give him it's hard to rate the 3 stars, but I'll give him a meh for right now. Haven't really seen the field all that much. One of the backup linebackers as I stumble over all my words. So right now I'm just going to give him a meh. Hasn't really seen the field. I don't know if he will, but it's hard for me to give a bunch of misses to 3 stars whenever they're backups. Damari Alston, that is a hit. Of course, 3-star running back from Atlanta, Georgia, has showed out whenever he has gotten the time to do so. Dealt with some injuries last year, and it showed on the offense whenever Jarquez Hunter went out. Couldn't really find a guy to kind of stand in like Damari Alston does. I think he's going to have another good year this year as the RB2. And, of course, going into 2025 as running back 1. Camden Brown, is a guy I'm extremely high on going into this year. I'm gonna give him a meh for right now. Hasn't really stood out stat wise, but size, speed, everything else wise, I think he could be one of the best wide receivers for Auburn. It always has to come together for him. That's all that has to happen. Marquise Gilbert, I'm gonna give him a miss. Never really got to see the field though, and transferred out. So I know it's a little bit different, but he was a projected starter and never really stood out among the rest. Anish, I'm going to go with that. Sledge, I know he has already since transferred out. Never saw the field that much. It'll be a miss for him before and transferred out before he could actually get on the field. Caleb Wooten, little brother of Colby Wooten. I'll be giving him a hit. The 3-star has stood out very much as will be a starting safety this year. So huge ups to Caleb Wooten. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what he can do this year. Last high school recruit, Alex McPherson. That's a hit. Last year was perfect on the year. And of course, he's going into this year as one of the best place kickers in the SEC. And he'll soon be known across the country as one of the best there as well. He's going to be a hit for me. I love watching Auburn get good kickers. That's awesome to me. And it happens all the time. So going on to the transfers, a lot of guys are going to be getting. This is going to be a very wishy-washy thing because it might go back and forth. But starting off with the tight end Grant Hildago, he'll be a miss. Transferred in from Illinois. Never saw the field, I believe, whatsoever. And I already know that he has transferred out since coming to Auburn, but I don't believe he's still on the roster. Marcus Bragg will also be a miss. Never really saw the field that much. And wasn't it just comes to that point. Never saw the field that much. But yeah, right now he'll be a miss. Coy Moore. This one's going to be a little volatile, but I'm going to say a miss. Coy Moore never really stood out to me. A lot of botched plays. A lot of things didn't go his way. He has since transferred out as well. Right now, I'm going to say he's a miss. Craig McDonald, also a miss. Never saw the field. Projected as a starter. Didn't really show out whenever he was on the field. He left this team again. That'll be a miss. And here we go again. Dazzling Warsham. Never saw the field. All that, or when he didn't see all that much. That'll be a miss. And then the 3 out of the last 4 are great. Don't worry. Eugene Asante. Major hit. Last year broke out, had a great season, and is going to be the star linebacker yet again for Auburn. And this year he's expected to be that. Going into last year, of course, being kind of seen as more of a backup role, but kind of came out of nowhere. DJ James hit. One of the star corners in the SEC over the past the years he's been at Auburn. Of course, now has been drafted to the Jacksonville Jaguars, if I'm not mistaken. Now I gotta check my math here. Seattle Seahawks. I'm stupid. Yeah, of course, got drafted to the Seattle Seahawks. Major hit. Zach Calzada. I think this is a miss in every sense of the word. Came to Auburn, projected starter for Auburn. Never stepped on the field once in game. Since transferred out to, I believe he went to Incarnate Word. So be a miss for Zach Calzada. And the last guy I have on this list is Jason Jones. I'm going to give Jason Jones, I'm going to give him a hit. I think he's done a very good job as a nose tackle for blocking up holes, and I want to see more of him as he develops. I think he'll get drafted just because of his size alone. But right now, hit verge meh. He's like right above the line. Just because I just need to see more of him and what he can do get to the quarterback. I know he talked a lot about getting to the quarterback last year, and it never really happened. So right now, verge, but hit. But that does it for my grading the class of 2022. If you think I got any of them wrong, let me know. Leave your grades for this class. Well, this class was very across the board in terms of where I would grade it as a class. Right now, I'd probably say maybe a B minus, I think, would probably be the level for this class. I mean, you had a lot of guys, especially the transport class, I think gets like a C or D because you only had 3 guys who were 2 of them still with the team, but those 3, Jason Jones and Eugene Sunday and DJ James, kind of bring the transport class higher than it should be. But the rest of them just never really stood out. In the high school class, all over the place in terms of guys who are still with the team, guys who transferred out, guys who showed out whenever they got on the field. Of course, Keontae Scott probably being the biggest player from that class. So that does it for that. We'll be right back after this commercial break to talk to you about some Auburn softball and Auburn baseball. So stay tuned right after this. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. All right. So again, as the commercial said, the Feelin' Loopy t-shirt, most comfortable shirt you're going to wear in your entire life, only $25. Father's Day is coming up to get them a shirt, or you can also get them a hat as well, the college loop hat that I am wearing right now. Very comfortable hat as well. The college loop just like pushes out comfortable clothes to wear. So, of course, if you're looking for a nice shirt, a nice hat, you got the Feelin' Loopy t-shirt and you got the college loop hat. So get those today as well. Starting off with Auburn Softball, a long time coming. Auburn has hired co-head coaches. This is not a rare occurrence to see. Tennessee did it. They get 01-02 with the weeklies. They hired co-coaches, and Tennessee's been one of the top end softball teams in the SEC under the weeklies. But Chris and Kate Malveaux are the new co-coaches for the Auburn Tigers. I think it's a great hire. I know a lot of people were like kind of weirded out by the co-coach idea, but this is a couple, and they both do great things. They do different. They were Chris Malveaux. It's gonna be kind of confusing going back from Chris and Kate. Chris Malveaux was the batting coach last year for Tennessee. He's also he has head coaching experience. I think he coached at Bradley. Last year, Tennessee was one of the top hitting teams in the country when they come to being at the plate. Averaged 1.5 home runs a game. They ended the season with 84 total home runs, third most in Tennessee's like single season record. Just all over the place. Tennessee was very good at the plate, and a lot of that goes under Chris. It was just so. Tennessee was really good last year, so it's kind of hard to like go through all of it. But Tennessee, one of the best teams in the country, and they're not in the finals right now because Texas and Oklahoma, which that's another scary thought that's going to be in the SEC next year. Kate Malveaux, she was the catchers and the base running coach for Tennessee. Tennessee, also known for stealing 50 bases in each of the years that she was coaching them. This is a great hire. I honestly think that this is the best course of action. I know there are probably some other people out there who think the Auburn should only gotten one coach, but I think they work very well. I mean, again, they're married, so hopefully they know how to work together already. I don't think this is going to cause any issues that people were like saying it was, because people are saying if you have 2 head coaches, you have no head coaches. I think that's a load of crap. I think you're just ignoring the fact that Tennessee has done this for years. This is like only like a couple of years out from where Tennessee has had had 2 coaches. Now it's just one of the weeklies there. But these 2 the Malveaux were very key pieces to why Tennessee was so great this year and have been since they've been there. Of course, Kate Malveaux has been there since 2021, and Chris got there in 2023. And both of them act and coach the positions and places that Auburn struggled at last year. Auburn really struggled at the plate. Chris is very good at coaching at the plate. And that's just kind of what Auburn needs. And last year relied too heavy on the the lack of power hitters Auburn had last year. Auburn was never really consistent at the plate, and then you go over to Kate. Auburn's base running very meh. A lot of meh going on around there. So I do think that these two are very, very good pickups and good replacements to take over the program. And I cannot wait to see how they perform. I can't wait to see how they attack the transfer portal because Auburn's going to need to go at it a little bit probably. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see them in action, and of course, I can't wait to hear from them as well. So, and with that, last couple of things to touch on, just to go over baseball. Baseball picked up Sanford catcher Lucas Still, the transfer portal yesterday. Lucas Still has a 9.89 fielding percentage as a catcher, and he is batting a 2.45. He was a very solid catcher last year for the Sanford Bulldogs. Transferred in. I think he announced his transfer like last night at around 10 o'clock. So good pickup for Auburn there. And then last bit of news, Auburn golf coach Clinard wins D1 Coach of the Year. I hope I'm not saying his name, Clinard, whichever one it is. I suck with names. Wins D1 Coach of the Year. So huge ups to Auburn golf, winning yet another award. It's just crazy how many trophies the golf team is going to be putting up right now. It is just so fun for Auburn to have a big time sport again, or top of the league level sport. But with that does it for this episode of the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, @boytank on Twitter. Of course, find me on Instagram as well at Dylan Larck at DYLENLARCK. And of course, you can find me right here on the College Loop Podcast. Would you like, comment, and subscribe? Leave your thoughts on the class 2022. Leave your thoughts on Auburn potentially picking up some of the high-end players in class 2026. And leave your thoughts on Auburn Softball's new head coaches. And of course, if you want to continue watching the show, you have us right here on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe yet again. And of course, you can find the audio versions of the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and of course, Amazon Music. And don't forget, get the merch. But of course, with all that being said, thanks for tuning in. War Eagle. And this has been the College Loop Podcast.